the other goal is to give each member of the family a sense that they have a voice and that they're being heard and seen and recognized and that their voice matters and that they're part of the decision-making of this team thing called a family.
You're listening to Parenting with Impact, the podcast for parents like you, raising complex kids to become capable, independent adults, even in this complicated world. Each episode brings expert insights and real-life strategies to help you parent with confidence, calm, and clarity. Here are your hosts, Elaine and Diane.
Welcome back, everybody, to another conversation in the Parenting with Impact podcast. Diane and Elaine here.
Hi, everybody.
I'm very excited to have this conversation today, actually.
We pulled something out of the archives. This is true story, right? It's a sort of, some days we wake up and we're like 17 ideas of things to talk about. And you were doing some research the other day, going through some old topics, and we're like, how did we not talk about this yet?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you guys
so this is based on a workshop that I literally did 10 years ago. And I went through and I went, yep, still pretty much on target. So we're going to do it again. We'll do it again as a workshop or a masterclass, but we wanted to at least have a conversation. We've teased them enough. Should we actually tell them what the topic is?
Oh, yeah, we can. The topic is family meetings, but before you hang up, don't stop, because it's like family meetings get a bad rap, I think, particularly because we as parents, we have a habit of doing them in a way that is either exhausting for us or daunting for our kids or something in that vein. So before you move on to the next podcast, we're going to help you figure it out.
When you say that, I'm like, are you kidding?
Oh, no, you had all these amazing family.
We had the best family meetings. They were so good.
And I think we started having better family meetings after I met you and you kind of gave us some ideas and everything else. It was the mindset and the shift of it, because I think that a lot of times, family meetings feel like, okay, I'm being called to the table by my parents. It's this sort of,
It can, yeah.
When I was a kid, that was a family meeting. I literally had to sit at the kitchen table and somebody was probably wagging their finger at me. And
or all of you. Yeah.
We have that habit. And so let go of that preconceived notion. That's not what we're talking about. Nobody's wagging a finger at you. So take a deep breath.
Okay. So let's create a new context. The context here is raising a family that feels like a team, right? Whether you've got 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids or more, right? It's about creating a sense of team and a feeling like my kids said to me as young adults, Mom, Dad, y'all grew a friend group.
Well, you were talking about that, recorded the episode on siblings, and you were talking about the team aspect of this. So this is a great segue into how do you do one of the things that you can do to make that happen.
Right. So this is a tool to help foster a sense of team. But to your point, Diane, it's not something you impose. And it's not all your agenda, and we're going to go through some of this stuff. But the idea behind a family meeting is really to give everyone in the family a place where they do feel like a team, they're coming together, and where you have a safe place for strong communication, right? Where everyone feels heard. That's really, fundamentally, it's a place for everyone in the family to feel like they're being heard, their voice matters, their perspective matters, that everything isn't just direct control. Right?
Well, and I think the other advantage of it is so many of us feel like the only time we talk to our kids is if we have something to tell them or teach them or check in with them on. And we end up in these transactional relationships with our kids, and parents in our community say this all the time. I want to have a relationship with my kid. I don't want it to just be about the transactions. And a team meeting can create a space for transactional kinds of work. So it's not all the time. True story. I had checked in with my roommate the other day, and I was like, do we want to have a weekly sort of check-in, or do you want me to just kind of tell you stuff as they come up? He's like, just tell me when it comes up. So not everybody loves the team meeting format, but it can be a good tool. And as you said, there's so many different pieces to this and so many things that it really builds in the family.
Yes. And what just came up as I heard you say that is that we often, in the parenting world, we have a tendency to put a solution in place without being really clear what we're trying to achieve by using that solution. It doesn't matter whether it's, giving a kid a binder or a journal, or like we're using a calendar, or like whatever routine or structure or system we put in place. We very often, mistakenly, I think, start with a solution instead of identifying the problem you're trying to solve.
Well, and I think that's so true with family meetings. It's like,
Right.
okay, the Impact Parents podcast said we're supposed to start having family meetings.
Right.
Well, and so
What's likely to happen then?
yeah, permission to not do that if you don't want to, and to not make this about another transactional thing. This is about improving communication skills, about fostering the sense of team, everybody giving a space for everybody to feel heard and involved, and to teach self-management if you've got younger kids. It's this sort of, if you imagine like all the things that happen when you're in a meeting. And I remember, wasn't there a book called like Death by Meeting?
I don't know, but that's one of my lines.
It's
Stand
like
it.
death by meeting. And part of that comes from the fact that in the work environment for years, it was like, okay, we got to get everybody together and talk about this, right? It's a sort of, and that's really not what we're not talking about, but we're talking about a time and an event to connect as a family. And if you think about any kind of good, I've had great teams that I've worked on, I've had challenging teams. I really look forward. Our team meets every Monday and we start with
Time of the week.
celebrations, and it's about getting to know each other, and it's about knowing what's going on in your world and what's important to you. And yes, we get business done, and it's a space for us to kind of talk about what's going on and how things are going as a team. And we want this to also be something that your kids and you are actually looking forward to, and not a dreading sort of thing, right?
Well, I was thinking about, we have a new team member who started joining our team meetings, and we do celebrations at the beginning of every team meeting, every Monday. And it was really funny because, and I've seen this with a few new team members, they'll come in and their celebrations are always work related. And the rest of us are like, this is what I did this weekend, or, look at the flowers in my garden. And I heard her say the other day, she's like, oh, I have a personal celebration. It's like, yes, now you have permission to be human here. There's a lot we could say about the container of a family meeting, but the purpose of it, really above and beyond all else, is to connect, right? Is to find a safe space to kind of check in with each other about what's going on in people's lives, especially for your kids and maybe your partner to feel heard and to feel like their voice is part of what's kind of guiding the pattern of the family. It's not, because sometimes I know that this as a mom, in the early years, everything was about what mom said to do or didn't do, or what we were doing, or like I was running all of the stuff. And the family meeting was a place where they could say, I don't like doing that. I want to do this, or can I do it that way? Or it became a place where everybody felt like they knew they were going to be heard at least once a week, and that I was going to use that. I was going to integrate that. Right.
Well, and what's coming up as you're saying that, if you think about the things we said, we're really trying to create a team and improve communication. And how often do we have to have difficult conversations? And we stumble through them because, we're taking it personally, or they're not hearing us, or whatever it is, right? And so if we're learning how to communicate with each other about kind of the in-between stuff, which is a lot of what we're going to challenge you to kind of fill the family meetings with, is the in-between stuff, and not just the big stuff or the important stuff or the whatever stuff. You learn how to dialogue and communicate and listen to your kids, and they can learn how to wait and pay attention. And I mean, you're really teaching interpersonal communication skills as part of that, right?
For sure. For sure. So here's what I'm going to say. Let's take a quick break, and then let's come back. And I want to give a couple of techniques. We can't do the whole thing, but a few strategies to use. Fair?
Yep.
In my family, we don't really feel or experience time the way other people do. That's why I'm a fan of Time Timer, because it shows time disappearing so that my kids and I know exactly when it's time to switch gears. If that sounds like something your family needs, head to timetimer.com/IP and use the code IP25 for 5% off. with Time Timer. Time makes more sense when we can all see it. Welcome back, everybody. Diane and I are having a conversation about family meetings, and we've kind of set the stage with what are they for, right? And what it really is about communication and connection, and making sure that it's not just another vehicle for you to impose your agenda,
Right.
but really a place for them to feel seen and heard, right? So I have a few things I want to make sure we cover. Is there any particular strategy you think is really important?
No, I think it's really if we ground in why are we doing this? We're not
Right.
doing this to have a time to take care of the business, just to take
Not yet,
not yet.
right?
To take it really is about the teamwork and about the communication skills and the connection. Like is the grounding, right?
Right. So that's the why of it. And what I want to suggest is that if you've not been in the habit of having team meetings, or your family meetings haven't been going as well as you'd like, for the first while, my challenge to you is to do nothing in the team meeting other than celebrate and talk about what's on the calendar for the week. Nothing else. Don't tackle any other agendas at first. You want to set the stage where it feels safe and that they're not going to be called to task for a bunch of things. So for the first, say, month. So Diane was saying she was checking in with a partner about, do you want to have a regular time? I do think it really helps to have a regular time that you're going to do family meetings so that everybody can kind of expect it, whether it's, Sunday evening or Wednesday night. Or I would recommend that you not do it at the dinner table, but that you do it at another time and in another place if possible. That you make sure you have fidgets available. Like I used to bring this big bowl of fidgets and put it in the middle of the family room table.
Or you could make it an okay deal if people wanted to color or
Yeah,
scribble or something like that, and not be like, "You're not paying attention, you're scribbling or you're fidgeting," or, we have kids and we have adults in our families that might need fidgets to keep them able to focus on, something that might be a little bit more boring or mundane.
exactly. So keep it light, keep it casual, allow for movement or fidgeting or other activity that's not distracting, obviously.
Well, the
Uh,
other thing you always say is, like, rotate leaders, right? So don't have
hold on that for a sec. Can I pause that for just a sec? So, because I really want to set the stage for at the beginning, the only quote agenda is celebrations and calendar. So, this is what to expect this week. Once you start getting into a rhythm, whether you're doing it every week or every other week or however often you do it, then it can shift from a coming together to a meeting. And Diane, that's really what you're talking about when it kind of begins to become a meeting, right? I don't know. Did you keep a journal? We kept a family meeting notebook
Mm.
at our house. So now go with that.
Well, so
Sometimes,
I'm not. So what we're saying is that we're going to get together a few times in a safe space and just kind of connect with celebrations and checking the calendar.
exactly.
And then I think part of it is talking about what you want to talk about. Right? It's a sort of what do we want this to be a time for? What do we not want this to be a time for? Right? And so you're agreeing as you're creating the framework, you're creating the structure as a family rather than, again, somebody coming in and saying, well, we're going to do this, then we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And one of the ways you can do that is to say, okay, so let's take turns leading the meeting. Or, one Sunday a month we'll do it this way, and another Sunday a month we'll do it that way. Now that may make some of your kids crazy because they won't know what Sunday it is. But,
You try different things, you experiment.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right. And one technique that can help with that, and it may not work for everybody, is to keep a family meeting agenda that's in a separate space, like on the refrigerator or something. And for a while, for the first few weeks while you're just coming together, you can say, well, these are things that we might talk about at family meetings. You don't have to talk about it yet. Just keep the list and let them start brainstorming what they want to talk about at a family. Before you start bringing an agenda, let them. And so they may complain about something in the week and you're like, wow, that could be a cool topic for family meeting. Would you put it on the list?
Well, and I think that that's what I love that because if somebody's griping, right, it's just sort of so, yes, family meetings can be a time to air your gripes. And if the cool thing about what you just described is I'm griping about my brother on Tuesday and mom says, okay, let's put that on the fridge. So
Right.
sure we can cover it on Sunday. Like I've got 4 days to down regulate and this can be another thing you can help. It's like this sort of, okay, we may have a family agreement that we don't have gripes with emotional charge, right? It's just sort of so, everybody's got to take their deep breaths and do 5 minutes of group meditation or whatever you do in your family to kind of down regulate before you even step into the group meeting so that you're talking about things and not arguing and fighting about things.
Well, and what I found was half the time they would put something on the family meeting agenda, and by the time we got to the family meeting, they forgot what it was.
Yes.
But that was really fine because at the moment when I said, that's cool, go put that on the agenda. First of all, don't write it for them unless they're so young that you have to. Let them write it down however they want to put it. It helps them capture what their dream is. We often talk in coaching about what's the dream behind the complaint, right? They're going to complain, and then we get to help frame it as what do you really want? And they feel heard just by writing it down, right? So even if you never address it, on some level, they've already felt acknowledged and recognized.
The other structure I like for family meetings is the magic 3 questions, right? So what's working? Like what's not working? And what are we going to focus in on next, right? And so some of you who are in our community, you know the tool of taking aim, and that's focusing on one particular thing. And one of the things that we did in our family was each kid had a thing that they were taking aim on. It was maybe a behavior challenge between the parents and the kids, or a behavior challenge between siblings or something. But, then the family meeting became a place to say, okay, so this is what I've been working on. This is what I'm celebrating. I didn't lose my cool 3 times. I was able to go to my room and close the door and relax and then come back in and have a calm conversation with my brother about XYZ. Then next week I'm going to work on this. Right? It's just sort of what's the magic 3 questions are: what's working, what's not working, and what do I want to try next time, or what do I want to do differently moving forward. And the order of that can be helpful because if you start with what's working instead of the gripes, it really brings the energy of the family meeting up. Everybody's having a great time. Everybody's appreciative of each other. You're celebrating and connecting before you have to deal with some of the more challenging conversations.
And again, you may not deal with some of those more challenging conversations for a few weeks, and that's really okay. When you think about, those of us who learned about the independence pyramid that we teach, the foundation is relationship, and then we build trust. And so family meetings are a great opportunity to build some trust and improve communication before you get to collaboration, where you're beginning to work with each other and try to resolve things and do conflict management and stuff in the family. You will be able to use it for that. But if you start off with that, it typically feels to the kids like you're starting off saying, I am calling you here so I can tell you what you've done wrong. And what we want to do is have it feel like I'm inviting you here so we can come together and celebrate what's going well in our family and how we work together. That's why I think the calendar is so helpful, because a lot of our kids really do very well if we start the week by saying, here's what's coming up this week, and you've got a late practice this week, and mom's working late this week, and whatever, to set their expectations for the week can really help them begin not only to be more conscious of time, but also to feel a little less thrown when things are surprising or come out of structure for them.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the other thing, just to reiterate, is there are concerns and challenges that come up. And yes, this can be a place to do it. And we want to figure out how we want to do it in a way that feels safe, right? And so if, for example, you've got more than one kid and this kid is really struggling with X, Y, and Z, it might be an agreement that these are the kinds of things that we're conversations we want to have in front of everybody. These are the situations where I want to be able to have a conversation with you in private if you're going to you're going to be frustrated with me about X, Y, and Z, maybe I'd rather you not do that in front of the whole family. And so part of what you get to design with your family is what goes to family meetings, what doesn't go to family meetings. And I think that the reminder is always, we're not leading. We may not be practically leading the meetings, but we want to be leaders in the meetings. And I think that that's the reminder, and the important piece of this is, if we're getting reactive, if we're on the rampage about a particular thing, if we're taking it personally, all of those things are going to make the meetings potentially uncomfortable. And so it's the underlying goal here is, how do I create a safe space for me to be cool with whatever might come up in the family meeting? And how do I create a safe space for my kids to be cool, whatever might come up in the family meeting?
Beautiful. So here's the bottom line. Family meetings are a powerful tool. The tool is not the goal, right? The tool is to serve a larger goal. And the goal is both connection and fostering a sense of team, that kind of place. And the other goal is to give each member of the family a sense that they have a voice, and that they're being heard and seen and recognized, and that their voice matters, and that they're part of the decision-making of this team thing called a family. And that the world isn't being done to them, but they have a say in their world. It doesn't matter how minor a way that is. The sense of feeling heard is super, super empowering for our kids. So the goal is to connect, build trust, build a team, and help make sure they're feeling heard. And then over time, it's to begin to tackle some of the issues that come up in a family that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful structure for that.
And so the right time to start doing family meetings is
It's
now. It's not when things get rough. It's now.
But keep it fun, keep it light, keep it playful, and stay tuned. Sometime in the next year, we will do a full workshop on family meetings. So what are you taking away from this, everybody? What's your insight? What's your awareness from this conversation? What do you want to take from this and bring forward into your world this week?
Always funny when we forget the wrap up.
And as always, my friends, thank you for tuning in, paying attention, thinking about this stuff, being the conscious parent that you are, and for what you're doing for yourself and for your kids. You make an enormous difference. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
You've been listening to the Parenting with Impact podcast with Elaine and Diane. For more information on the Impact Parents community, or to join Sanity School for Parents, please visit impactparents.com. If you like what you've heard, please share this podcast with friends who need similar guidance, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.